as we are now halfway through the year, I wanted to have a chat about how I am progressing with the book series that I am currently reading, or that I have DNF'd. Last year I posted this kind of video quarterly, but this year I don't really know what happened. Time just escaped me, and now I have loads of series or books in a series to talk about. I think what I'll do is I'll talk about series that I have caught up with, series that I have started, series that I've completed, and series that I have DNF'd because I'm no longer interested in continuing with them. For various reasons that I may or may not go into. It depends on what that reasoning is. If it's not very interesting, it's just that I'm bored, then there's not really much to talk about. This year I've read over 70 books. 35 of those books were in a series. 3 of those books were companion books, so kind of a series, but it depends how you want to categorize it. I think I want to start with a book series that I'm very conflicted about. I'm not sure whether I want to DNF this or not. I'm leaning towards yes, but because it is so popular, I feel like I need to read the sequel, and that book series is Quicksilver, or the first book is Quicksilver. I hated it. I gave it 1 star. I thought it was appalling. It was an awfully written book. World building was rubbish. The characters, hated them. I honestly have nothing nice to say about this book, but I do need to recap it for my website and possibly for my YouTube channel. And I'm thinking if the series does stay really popular, I would still like to recap it for people because that's helpful and lots of people would hopefully benefit from that. So I'm not really sure what to do here. I don't think I'm going to decide until the sequel comes out. It's not a good book at all, but at the same time it was readable, so all I really would be losing by reading the sequel is time. So I'm not sure about that. A really popular series that I have started and I am enjoying though is the War of Lost Hearts series. This is by Carissa Broadbent, who also wrote The Serpent and the Wings of Night, which I really enjoyed, and this is a completed trilogy. I've only read Daughter of No Worlds so far. I'm currently partway through Children of Fallen Gods, and the second book isn't as strong as the first book. The first book I gave 5 stars. It was absolutely incredible. It followed a woman called Tysana who was sold into slavery when she was quite young. I think she was about 13, and eventually she managed to save up enough money to buy her own freedom. And when she presented this money to the person who enslaved her, he beat her. He was really angry that she had managed to do that, and so he basically tried to kill her. She did manage to escape. She killed him instead, and then she found her way to a different kingdom called Ara, and she was able to join the Order, which is an order for magical people. And she became the apprentice to a really grumpy ex-soldier called Max. Max was a retired soldier. He was dealing with a lot because he did some horrific things during the previous war 8 years ago, and since then he had been living as a recluse in his cottage, tending to his garden, avoiding everyone else from the Order. And then once Tysana arrives, she sort of brings him back to life, and I loved that love story. I thought it was fantastic. I really enjoyed the way the author handled languages in this book as well. I think my only negative about this book, the first one, Daughter of No Worlds, was the way that Tysana was trained to join the Order. Max helped her kind of learn how to use her powers, but he didn't really focus much on actual fighting and battling. And I don't know if this is going to be addressed in the next book, but she really needs to start learning how to fight, and it was just odd to me that that wasn't the focus. But anyway, all that to say, I am really enjoying this series. I hope the rest of the trilogy holds up, and as I said, I am actively reading the second book right now, so I should be able to finish that one in July, and hopefully the third book in August. I am getting really into marathoning book series recently. This is something that I used to do when I was younger, and I don't know why I stopped doing it. I just started maybe becoming a bit afraid of reading the final book in a series, but I am really enjoying reading these book series really quickly now. Speaking of reading book series quickly, I also started and almost caught up with the Bridge Kingdom series. So I read books 1, 2, 3 and 4, and I started book 5, but I then found that I received the wrong copy. I received the UK version, but I had been reading the US versions, and once I noticed that and the formatting was different to the other versions or editions I had been reading, I couldn't continue to read. So I'm waiting for my US edition to arrive, and then I will be carrying on with the Twisted Throne. But I love this series so much. I've posted a recap for the Bridge Kingdom on my channel. There's a recap for the Traitor Queen coming soon, and then eventually I'll get to the other 2 books, or the other 3 books. This is a really good political fantasy book series. It's divided into duologies, so there are 3 duologies in the series. The 6th book is coming out sometime in 2026. The first 2 follow someone called Lara, a woman called Lara, and a guy called Aaron, and the 2 have been betrothed. Lara's father wants her to marry King Aaron of the Bridge Kingdom in order to get into the Bridge Kingdom, assassinate Aaron, and then tell her father how his forces can get in and take over the bridge. But obviously it doesn't really work out the way that anyone is planning. And then the inadequate heir follows Keris, who is Laura's brother, and Zara, who is from a different kingdom entirely. I love this series so much. It is truly fantastic, so I would highly recommend reading this. These ones I have been marathoning just non-stop because they are absolutely brilliant and really, really readable. I also read in very quick succession the Shepherd King duology. So I read One Dark Window and then immediately had to go out and buy Two Twisted Crowns. So this is as I said, a duology. It's fantasy, possibly fantasy romance. I'm not really sure like where the line is there. So this is about a woman called Elspeth who has someone in her head. She has a voice in her head after having touched a tarot card, and she calls this voice the Nightmare because it was the nightmare card that she touched. So Elspeth starts getting dragged into kind of court politics. She meets the captain of the King's Guard, and he is trying to, along with his family, collect a bunch of tarot cards and complete the deck. The king, who is an arse, is also trying to do the same thing. Because if they do manage to collect this deck, that means that the fog that surrounds the kingdom will be lifted and it will no longer be a threat. And the two kind of groups of people each have their own reason for wanting to do that. And then throughout this duology, you also learn more about the Shepherd King and his whole backstory. It's truly fascinating. I loved the flashbacks. I didn't love the romances in this series. Book 1 follows exclusively Elspeth and Raven, and to be honest, they've got like no personality together or apart. And then the second book follows another couple as well as Elspeth and Raven. So I don't think it's like the strongest series, but it was definitely very readable, very bingeable, and I very much enjoyed it. My favourite character is the Nightmare. He's the most interesting, so do with that what you will. I also completed another couple of book series. I don't really have much to say about both of them. So there was Bright Falls, which is a contemporary romance series. I read Iris Kelly Doesn't Date finally, and I enjoyed it. I also completed, technically, the Hunger Games series. This is another companion novel. I read the Sunrise on the Reaping, or just Sunrise on the Reaping, her newest book. And I'm not entirely sure that this series is complete because I've heard rumours that she's going to be telling Finnick's story, but that's not confirmed as far as I'm aware. So at the moment, this is completed, so I've read both of those. I also read Fool Me Once, which is a duology of 2 companion books following 2 sisters. So the first one is Fool Me Once, the second one is The Boyfriend Candidate, and I didn't love this series. I read it because this is Ashley Winstead and I really like her thrillers, but her romances are questionable. So I read both of these, didn't love them, don't really have much to say about them. I completed the Garlic duology, Garlic and the Vampire and Garlic and the Witch. This is a duology of graphic novels. They're really sweet. I think they're adorable. I don't own them myself. I haven't gone out and bought them after borrowing them from the library, but I would highly recommend them. They're very sweet. I also caught up with a few series. So the first one was Her Majesty's Royal Coven. I read the prequel, Queen Bee, and I am so excited for the next book that comes out this month as you're watching this. The final book, Human Rights, comes out I think on the 17th of July. I do need to confirm this, but I am so excited for it. I'm a bit frustrated that it's not coming out until halfway through the month because I have some time off work at the beginning of the month and that would have been perfect timing. It doesn't matter, it's okay, I'm still going to read it. I love this series so much. This is set in the UK, up in Yorkshire mainly, and it follows a group of friends who are all witches from the same coven. They grew up together in this small village in the Peak District. At least I think it's in the Peak District. It's up in Yorkshire. They fought in a warlock and witch war together. The witches were fighting against the warlocks. And after the war, they all sort of went their separate ways. Some of them still stayed in touch a little bit. They definitely weren't as close as they once were. We get the points of view of all of them. So one of them became, or is looking to become, the leader of the entire coven. She's very ambitious. Another one has actually left the coven to start her own because the original coven isn't very diverse, and she wanted to create a space where everyone is welcome and everyone feels safe. And then there are 2 characters who stayed in their village or returned to their village, and they are still technically part of the coven, but they don't really have much to do with it. Until one day, Neve, who I would say is like the main character, she gets dragged back into the coven by the one who's really ambitious, wants to be the leader, because there is apparently a child who is said to be like basically the devil, and they are a threat to the coven. The prophecies all say that this child is going to bring down the coven, and Neve goes to see this child and she's like, what are you talking about? It's just a kid. And so then we meet Theo, who is a lovely teenage girl who has done absolutely nothing wrong, but she is not having a great time because everyone hates her. Basically everyone is telling her that she's like demonic essentially, and they want to kill her. So Neve takes her in and the story progresses from there. It's a really good book series. I love it so much. Her Majesty's Royal Coven, the first book, was my favourite of the series. Shadow Cabinet sort of dragged a little bit, but as I'm rereading it now, or skimming it in order to recap it for my website, enjoying it more than I was before. I think I just went in with too high expectations when I read it back in October. But it's a very good series. I'm really excited for the third book to come out. I also caught up with the Empyrean series, Onyx Storm. I read that in January. I've done a whole review and a recap on that. It was disappointing and it dragged, but I'm still mildly looking forward to the fourth book. I caught up with Lore Olympus. I read volume 7 and 8, so I'm waiting for volume 9 to come out, I think in the autumn this year. Very excited for that. That's a Hades and Persephone retelling in graphic novel format. And then I also read the Kystrom Chronicles, and I'm either caught up or I have completed this series. So this is the Immortality Thief, which I've spoken about in so many videos now, and the sequel, The Unkillable Princess. I don't know if this series has been picked up for a third book. The author said that it could be up to 6 books. She's got lots of ideas, but it's not a super popular series, and so she was only contracted to write 2, at least so far. So I'm crossing everything that this series will continue because I love it so much. The first book is a kind of space horror adventure. It follows a guy called Sean, who is a linguist, and he has a criminal background, and so to get out of that, he is kind of talked into venturing onto this really creepy abandoned spaceship to gather some data before the sun that this ship is orbiting explodes and destroys the data, because the data is very important. So Sean goes onto the spaceship with a group of people, and then there are people waiting for him, and it's not what he expected. It's really creepy. I love the focus on languages in this series. It's fantastic in the first book in particular, and then the sequel turns into a bit more of a space heist. There's not really any horror in there at all. I really loved the found family vibes in this series. It's absolutely incredible, and the way that book 2 ended, let's just say I need book 3 yesterday. It was heartbreaking, it was wonderful, and I can't wait to read the third book if it comes out. Go and buy the series so that I can read the third book just for me. Another couple of series that I continued on with were the Princess Diaries series. I read book number 8, so I'm still slowly progressing with that series, and I also read books, I think 3 and 4 of Murderbot. I read Rogue Protocol and Exit Strategy. I think those are the right numbers. I'm just slowly working my way through that series as well. And then I started some series, of course. I started some already that I've already spoken about in this video. But book series that I have specifically started and I would like to continue on with are the Chestnut Springs series. I read Flawless, the first one, and really enjoyed it. And I've gone and bought all of the other books in the series, but I haven't continued with it as of yet. I would really like to very soon, probably in July, but I don't know. I started Ash Princess and I read the first book, Ash Princess. It's a YA fantasy series. I do own books 2 and 3, but I haven't read them yet. I would definitely like to do that before the end of the year, at least. I think I probably should have picked up the second book as soon as I finished the first book, because I ordered them but then didn't pick them up, and now I've left a gap, and that's really annoying. So I'm going to carry on with that sometime soon. I also started a couple of graphic novel series, the first one being Descender. I read volume 1 and I've now purchased volume 2, and I'm kind of just keeping an eye out for the rest of the volumes when they go on sale. I'm not going to continue with that until February next year, because I'd like to read it during my 28 books in 28 days challenge. And I also started The Old Guard. I've read volume 1 and I'm not in a rush to get through the rest of the series, but I will at some point, I imagine. It was good enough for me to continue. I also started Dungeon Crawler Carl. I've read the first book as an audiobook and I started the second, but then I kind of lost my audiobook, I don't know what you'd call it, steam, I guess. And I've been listening to podcasts and YouTube videos on my walks instead. So I do need to get back into it. I enjoyed the first book a lot, mainly because of the audiobook, and I've heard after book 2 you really get into like the meat of the story, so I'm looking forward to continuing with this and spending more time with Princess Donut, of course. And then finally, the last book series that I have started and I am actively working on is the Eden series. I've read Indigo Ridge, the first book, and Juniper Hill, the second book. The first book is a romantic suspense mystery kind of thing, and the second book is more of just a romance, I would say. I think the books get less mysterious and suspenseful as the series goes on, and that's a shame because that's the reason I picked up this series. I wanted them all to be sort of like small town murder mystery, serial killer kind of things, but that's not the case. So I'm not rushing to buy the third book, but I would like to get it at some point when it goes on sale, or I can find it as an ebook. I really like that these covers are so colourful. They look really good on my shelf, so I would really like to own physical copies. I'm just worried that I'm not going to like the third and fourth books and the rest of the series as much as I like the first two, so we will see. And then just very quickly, I'm just going to list off the book series that I have DNF'd this year so far. We have The Witch's Hand, which is a graphic novel series. Didn't love the first book. Emily Wilde, I DNF'd the first book. It was so boring. I don't know why that's getting so much hype. The Baby Dragon Cafe, I gave that one 3 stars. I enjoyed the concept enough. It was okay, but it was boring. The Nice House on the Lake, that just confused me. I might go back to that eventually, but I'm in no rush to. That's a graphic novel series. The Scarlet Alchemist, I didn't like the first book. It's a YA fantasy series, and I don't think I'm gonna like the second, so I'm just not gonna read it. Fates Inked in Blood. This was so disappointing. It's by the author of The Bridge Kingdom. I went into it fully expecting to love it, but I didn't like it. I didn't like the main character, I didn't like the writing. I don't know what she's done with this one, but it's not good. All Our Hidden Gifts, I just thought that was boring as well. I talk about that more in an upcoming video. And then finally we have Ledge, which was just weird and terrible. I didn't like it, so that's not good. But otherwise, I feel like this year has been really good for series so far. I'm making some good progress. I really wish that I could really concentrate on series and properly marathon them, and also come up with like a plan of what to read and stick to it. But really, I just think that's not the kind of reader that I am. I kind of just go with vibes. I never know what I'm picking up next. So I do have a few books that I want to read here. Only a couple of these are actually continuations of series that I'm already in the middle of. So I have Lady Smoke, which I've already spoken about. This is the second Ash Princess book. And I've also got Mother of Death and Dawn. This is the third War of Lost Hearts book. So I've already spoken about those. And then I've got some series, oh no, I have one more. Heartless by Elsie Silver. Obviously, I've already said I've bought the rest of the series, so I'd like to carry on with that. And then I've got some series I'm thinking about starting. Some of these have sequels out already, and others don't. So first of all, I've got Magnolia Parks. This was on my July, or was it on my July TBR? It's on my honeymoon TBR, which you haven't seen yet. We've also got The Night and the Moth. This is the Rachel Gillig book, the newest one. The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy. This is a trilogy, and I think it's completing in July. And then we've also got Diabound. So this is a self-published book that's been picked up by a publisher, so I'm hoping to read this very soon. And other than that, I've got so many series starters on my shelf that I could definitely be reading. I don't really own entire series anymore because I'm trying not to buy entire series unless I've at least read the first book and enjoyed it. So I don't know what I'm going to read in the next few months, but you'll see in my TBR videos and stuff, in all my vlogs. Hopefully I can finish off some series because I have a lot that I should be finishing that I'm just not making the time for, but that's okay. I'm mood reading, it's fine. Thank you for watching this video. Tell me what series you finished so far this year. Are you a good series reader? Or are you a really bad series reader and you just abandon series left and right? Tell me in the comments below. I would love to know. Thanks again. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.